I'm writer Mark Wooden, coming to you recorded from my bedroom, which you can tell by the white wall behind me. Welcome to Fantasy Island. I'm just playing. Seriously, though, welcome to another episode of Thoughts from the Shed. The Wooden Shed. Wooden Shed Creative. Right here. Wooden Shed Creative. That's me. It's that time of year where Thanksgiving turkeys get jealous because reindeer and snowmen are already out celebrating Christmas before the turkey can even get carved. It also means it's that time of year where you need to start thinking about what you're going to get your favorite writer geek cowgirl or cowboy for their Christmas present. Well, your Uncle Writer Mark Wooden is here to help you out with some great little things that I found very fun that hopefully you will find fun too for your fun people. As you know, I watch movies to learn more about how to write and tell stories, and I also use role-playing games to help with the writing process. To that end, these gift ideas are going to break down into 3 categories. Over here so you can see it. Movies, books about movies, see I do read, and role-playing games. Now, I'm not an affiliate of anybody, nor is anyone on this list giving me kickbacks for showing you their stuff. I'm just another humble geek trying to help you, the people, find something fun for your people. Links to all of the items will be found down below in the YouTube show notes or the podcast show notes, or you can go to that podcast page for this episode at writermarkwooden.com. The links will be there, as well as some behind the scenes stuff. So always go to writermarkwooden.com because there's always some great stuff there about the particular episode to find out more. With all of that said, let's get to the goodies. Last episode, link down below for those of you who missed it, we talked about foreign films, how you should watch them because 1, you learn different cultures, and 2, you can learn about some movie history, know what's going on around you so you can better inform your writing. A perfect way to get a movie geek to do all of that is to buy them a movie from the Criterion Collection. Now, back in 1984, the Criterion Collection started with this crazy idea that they would take some of the best movies of cinema and put them onto a physical disc. What? Remember these? Oh, discs. Whoa. Because back in 1984, when they started up, the concept of a stream was this thing back in the woods. You had to get the physical discs, and if you wanted some of the best movies in cinema, not just in America, but the world, the Criterion Collection had you covered. Before we go deeper into this, let's take a quick pause so we can define some terms. Chiefly, movies, films, cinema. A movie is like that popcorn stuff that you go to for strictly entertainment. And film and cinema are that Martin Scorsese, Denis Villeneuve, and Christopher Nolan art house. We must do these epic works with epic themes. That is film. That is cinema. Well, for our purposes today, all that shit's the same thing. Movie, film, cinema. I'm going to use it interchangeably. If I offend your gentle sensibilities, if you want to spam me with, oh my God, Marvel movies or cinema, spoiler alert, they're fucking not, then that's cool. But movie, cinema, film, I'm going to use it interchangeably, and there you are. In all, the Criterion Collection has a pretty open listing of movies. I mean, you'll find the great considered high art films of Federico Fellini and Akira Kurosawa, alongside your genre faves like RoboCop, the director's cut. Criterion were the first ones to be able to release the director's cut with all the blood and gore of RoboCop. There's also in there the genre favorite Scanners. Michael Ironside, Kevin Smith. Yes, that Kevin Smith has a film in the Criterion Collection, Chasing Amy. Classic film, though I still think Dogma was probably his better one, but still, Chasing Amy's in there. The Criterion Collection also has box sets, including one featuring all the films of Bruce Lee, including Enter the Dragon, which, for all of you newbies, that was the original Mortal Kombat. They also have a Godzilla set that goes from the first movie to roughly 1975, which been told is called the Showa or Shawa era. I'm probably horribly mispronouncing that. I don't really know anything about Godzilla other than he's a big, or she occasionally, kaiju monster thingy. I'd have to bring my boy Edwin in to give you all the history about that. Criterion does have some questionable movies in their catalog. For example, Michael Bay, king of the big explosion popcorn movie, has not one, but two movies, The Rock and Armageddon, in the Criterion Collection. So one would ask, okay, well, if you're going to put that dude in there, why doesn't, I don't know, Zack Snyder, who was pretty much heir apparent to the Michael Bay, let's blow shit up and call it art cinema collection. He's not in the collection. And no Goodfellas, no Raging Bull, no Taxi Driver, absolutely nothing from Francis Ford Coppola. I mean, what in the hell are you doing, Criterion? What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, actually, Mark, it could be a simple matter of licensing between the studios. For example, Scorsese does have The Irishman on the Criterion Collection, but that could be because Netflix has a deal with the Criterion Collection to license that movie to them. Whereas, say, Warner Brothers, who has Goodfellas, may not have a deal to license it across. So, fuck you, Sabu. You know what I mean. Just go with it. Go with it. There should be more Scorsese. There should be more Francis Coppola. I'm just saying. The cool thing with the discs in the Criterion Collection is they come jam-packed with either commentaries, documentaries, or sometimes text things that you can click through that have all sorts of information from learned scholars to the people who actually, made the movie. So you can learn more about the movie, more of the context the movie was made in. I mean, just really, 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 that whole thing about you need to learn your history of cinema, of movies, of film. These discs are great for that. And did I mention that more often than not, these are the best versions, and by that I mean how they look and how they sound, that you'll be able to find, because Criterion will get together and remaster it so it is the best presentation they can give to you of said movies. Now, most of these discs cost anywhere from $30 to $40. The collector sets, like the Bruce Lee and Godzilla ones I was talking about, are more because you get more movies. But don't worry, Criterion often has either flash sales or just regular old sales. So those $30 to $40 movies, you can find them at half price at $20. I just spent a truck ton of money and picked up like 4 or 5 movies myself. Barnes & Noble, at the time of shooting this, which is beginning in November, they have a 50% off sale going on too. I know, Barnes & Noble, a physical bookstore. Remember those? I'm going all old school in this episode with flashbacks of things that we thought were gone. But no, Barnes & Noble, still there, online, physical bookstore, sells movies because you guys don't read enough of my books. I mean, books in general, says the guy who watches movies to learn how to write books. For our next section of Geek Gifts, we're going to take movies and books. And we're going to do that oh so epic geek thing they like to call the mashup. We're going to look at books about movies so that way you can learn how the sausage is made. Remember that whole phrase about you need to learn your movie, cinema, film history so that way you know what works, what doesn't, what's come before, what rules to break? I should probably make a t-shirt with that on there. Know your movie, cinema, film history. Well, these books are going to help you do just that. As George Lucas is beholding to the works that came before him, like Akira Kurosawa and the Flash Gordon serials, just about every geek project that's come since that is beholden to Star Wars. Well, unless the project has dwarves and elves and those kind of things, in which case it's beholden to Lord of the Rings. But we're talking about Star Wars this time and George Lucas, because author J.W. Rinzler wrote a series of books that chronicles in exhaustive detail how the original Star Wars trilogy, we're rolling with it. I told you I'm a hack. We're rolling with it. I ain't got time to cut. The original Star Wars trilogy was made. And when I say exhaustive, oh, I mean exhaustive. Look at this thing. Look at the size of this thing. Not only do these books chronicle how the movie was made, it puts it in the context of when the movie was made. And it has some great archival stuff. I mean, they opened up the vaults to them. For example, after I kick out that note, you got a picture here. Boom. Look at sexy ass Harrison Ford looking as bored to be there as he says he was. And then for all of you really deep Star Wars geeks, boom, drop that index card. Concept art. This is what they were hoping it would look like. Imagine, look at that picture. Look at the one over here I can't get to because my hands don't reach that far and I can't figure out which hand is which. But look how close that looks to what they actually did for the movie. All that kind of stuff is in here. And when I say it goes into the context of when the films were made, there's sections on how, like, George Lucas would be hanging out with Francis Ford Coppola and Steven Spielberg and Brian De Palma, and they'd be shooting back and forth their movie ideas when Star Wars A New Hope was still in its infancy. You get to see how all that came about. You get to see that collide of the old Hollywood studio system where the studio was king and they told the filmmakers what to do. But now you see the emergence of Lucas and other filmmakers like him, where they became those independent mavericks. Because when you really think about it, sure, Fox eventually jumped on to do Star Wars, but really Lucas pushed that bad boy by himself and made that whole thing happen because everybody else thought this is going to be a flop. Boy, were all of them wrong, huh? All three books in Rinzler's series are hardbacks, though you can go online and get what I believe is a Kindle enhanced version. They're also about $50 a pop, but I mean, you saw the book. Well, anyway, the people who are watching it on YouTube saw the book. Trust me, my podcast listeners, the book is about an inch and a half thick, chock full of all sorts of good stuff. So that $50 is almost a gift because imagine if you had to pay to go to a film class to learn all you're going to learn inside of that book. $50, nothing. $150 for the set, nothing. You may even be able to go on eBay or somewhere like that and find it for a discount. But I'm telling you, it's a great series of books, especially if you're really interested in all the lore surrounding the making of the trilogy. Now, Rinzler has also done books on Revenge of the Sith, which was actually eye-opening because as my personal favorite of that trilogy, the prequel trilogy, it goes into painstaking detail again of how Lucas was writing the script as they were shooting. They would take like weeks off while he looked at the footage and figured out, all right, what story do I have here? Piled it together, brings in Steven Spielberg. Hey, Steve, check this out. Look over my shoulder. Where do I need to go? Rinzler has also done books on our two favorite horror movies, Alien and Aliens. I haven't read those yet. Gonna get those. I'm sure it gives the same treatment to those movies as it does to the Star Wars. For this next book, I want to give a shout out to my man, Dr. Greg Bachman, Professor Obi-Wan, who taught me filmmaking at the University of Tampa back in my college days. And the book, Men, Women, and Chainsaws. Now, all my horror peeps, I know y'all know the concept of the final girl. They're the heroines who defy the odds and survive the fight against the Jasons, the Michaels, the Freddys, the aliens of the world. Ellen Ripley, Nancy Thompson, and probably the most famous final girl, Laurie Strode. This book, this is where the concept of the final girl came from. But the book isn't just about the final girl. I mean, that's in here, but there's so much more to the book. Professor Carol Jean Clover provides chapters on rape revenge movies, demonic possession, all of it from a feminist perspective. Clutch the pearls. He said the F word. No, not the F-bomb. Fuck. Feminism. Ooh, feminist, ooh, female. Oh, I know my freaking dude, bro, geeks out there now freaking out, losing their shit. Oh, well, guess what? Sorry, but this book, woke as fuck, even back in 1992. But you know what? It's one of them books where you're going to get yourself an edumacation. You're going to learn some stuff. Because if you don't know the rules to writing and creating things, particularly in this case, the final girl and how that all works, you can't subvert the rules and create something that's new, improved, and sexy upon that. So you know what? You're going to have to get over yourself, all your political bullshit, and pick this book up and read it and learn a thing or two, especially if you want to be a horror writer. This book, Bible, pretty much the Bible on writing horror materials, particularly in regards to women in those things. Now, this is the original older version that I took notes in back in college, but there's also a second version, pretty much identical, has a woman on the cover. See this one? This is the perspective of the victim looking at Leatherface, the villain. Another one, the villain looking at perspective of the woman. There's also the new version, which kind of takes all that political context out of it, but hey, here it is. Only difference between this one and this one is this one has a preface written probably 20 years later, where Clover talks about how the book unfortunately was labeled simply as the Final Girl book. But as we discussed, there's so much more in this book than just the Final Girl. For those listening, the new book simply has a picture of Leatherface, or at least a dude with a chainsaw, we assume is Leatherface, standing on a blue background with, backlit by a light. So that's how you know that's that one. The first one has an orange Leatherface on the cover. Books under $20. You can find it on your bookstores, Amazon, etc., etc. There's also a Kindle version, so you have no excuse not to find a copy of Men, Women, and Chainsaws. Jay, Carol, Clover, pick it up. Give it to your geeks, especially the ones that love their horror movies. Get over yourselves, dude bros. Get over yourselves. And now for our final segment of gift ideas, role-playing games. Now I'm going to be honest with you. This section is really kind of a backdoor way to get you thinking about role-playing games because, as I said way back in the intro to this entire podcast video thingy, I use role-playing games to help with my creative writing. What I'm about to present to you are some of the tools / rule sets that I use for that very thing. Between the times when the oceans drank Atlantis and the rise of the sons of Arius, there was an age undreamed of. And into this, Conan came. Because I don't remember the rest of it, but I'm sure you remember the rest of it. That epic opening statement from Mako on Conan the Barbarian, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, now, thanks to the folks at Modiphius, there's a Conan role-playing game. With this Conan role-playing game, you, yes you, can now ride across the plains or mountains or deserts of Hyboria, where you can seek adventure, not just adventure, high adventure, as a person in the world of Conan. But a word of warning for my die-hard Dungeons & Dragons players. Gonna have to learn another rule system. Yes, gone is the D20 system, but you get to keep the D20 and add a second D20 and possibly up to 5 D20s to it. Now, I will admit that the way the core book is structured, can get a little confusing as to how the rule system works. There's they'll explain something, but then relate to something that's in a future chapter and come back, etc. So it is a little, but the core principles of how the 2D20 system work are very easy. Once you figure them out, it's very fast. And if you want to pile on all the other stuff that makes it a little bit more complicated, gives you a little bit more options, you can. Or you can just leave all that aside and go with the simple. Keep it simple, stupid. The other good thing about this system is Modiphius does an excellent job of giving you supplemental materials. There's about 4 or 5, I'd almost guess near a dozen books that they've published that take different parts of Hyboria and different things you can be and breaks them down. It gives you books on how to be pirate, mercenary, different locales and countries and different types of organizations and magic. And of course, yes, they have an entire book dedicated to being a barbarian. I've already used the Conan 2D20 system from Modiphius to write not one, but two. That seems to be a magic number around here. Two fiction works, one of which you'll eventually see on the writermarkwooden.com website. Look forward to that next year, early next year, I'm hoping. The Conan core book will run you roughly about $50, which is comparable to some of the other role-playing game books you'll find out there. Modiphius also has a nice thing where they like their book right side up. So why don't we turn the book right side up so you people can see that? The supplements are usually about half the price of the book, anywhere between the core book, from $18 to $25. So it's a nice, quick, easy thing you can pick up. Dice are available. They have card sets. They have a Game Master screen. And adventures are still coming out even now. They just released one back in October. So you're all good there. It is well supported. You won't be picking up a dead system. Conan 2D20 from Modiphius. In the early 2000s, Green Ronin Publishing created the Mutants and Masterminds RPG so that you could be a superhero in a knockdown, drag-out super system based on the D20 system. In 2010, they got the license for the DC comic book heroes and created the DC Adventures role-playing game based off of their Mutants and Mastermind system, a revised version of the system. In 2011, that license went away just like the book I just held did, and instead they created the Mutants and Masterminds official 3rd edition series, which I'm trying to hold so you don't see the glare, but there it is, the deluxe edition handbook. The beautiful thing with the Mutants and Mastermind system is it gives you just enough detail in the rule system that you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want. But it nearly perfectly captures the knockdown, drag-out superhero fights where they're getting pummeled, and yet they still keep going and going until eventually they get tired, but still find that last little burst of energy. There's ways you can have teamwork within the system, just like you never see the Avengers are taking on Thanos and they're all ganging up on him. There's rules to make all that kind of stuff happen. Now, the system is 10 years old. In fact, I believe the anniversary is this year. Hey, happy anniversary, Green Ronin, Mutants and Masterminds. But that doesn't mean the system's dead. Oh no, they still publish little snippet PDFs of different descriptions of locales that you can use in your superheroic adventures that are supported with new non-player characters. They give you adventure hooks for those locations. They're still making source books, the most recent one being a thing about time travel. So if you wanted to do your own Days of Futures Past, baby, Mutants and Masterminds, they have you hooked up. Also, the Green Ronin Mutants and Masterminds community is just a wonderfully cool place. There's a lot of good people there. They get a lot of good things. In fact, one of the good things I got was pages upon pages of people taking the comic book characters that you know and love and converting them over from Mutants and Masterminds characters. And that's how I created the fan fictions that you see on writermarkwooden.com. That's where I have my Batman and Iron Man teaming up to fix something that S.H.I.E.L.D. messed up, so I can have them encounter Nick Fury, which of course in my fan fiction world is played by the incomparable Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson. I also have a Birds of Prey story that I tried to channel Gail Simone to write this Birds of Prey story, but I did it with a little twist. There's Batgirl, like you know. There's Black Canary, like you know. But hey, I like the Huntress, but what have we subbed her out for? Sonya Blade. Oh, there's something a little different for you. Like I said, all of that stuff, writermarkwooden.com, link will be down below. Now, you can get the deluxe edition that I showed you here, but there's also a basic edition that's a little bit streamlined. So if you're new to role-playing games, it's a bit easier for you to understand and dive right in and start your superheroic adventures. The basic set is about $30. The deluxe edition's $40. There's a Game Master book. Like I said, there's the time travel one. If you can find it, there's a supernatural adventures one. So then you can do like Underworld or, I don't know, Shadowdance type stuff within with the Mutant and Masterminds rules. Well, that's the list for now, Writer Geek Cowboys and Cowgirls, or friends of Writer Geek Cowboys and Cowgirls. To keep things pequeño, I trimmed a section out on the Criterion streaming channel. Yes, Criterion does have a streaming channel. I'll pop that video up on the newsletter that'll be coming out just before Thanksgiving. So if you're a subscriber, you'll learn a little bit more about the Criterion streaming channel there. Not a member? Sign up. Well, I'm not even going to tell you because you know what to do by now.
Subscribe to the YouTube and sign up for the newsletter because I'm Batman and he's writer Mark Wooden.
In 2 weeks, come back. Come back to Jamaica. Come back to Fantasy Island. Haha, I'm kidding. Come back to WriterMarkWooden.com or Writer Mark Wooden's YouTube channel or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. And we'll have a discussion about my Shadowdance action urban fantasy saga. Why devote an entire episode to the Shadowdance saga, you ask? I'm hoping that by showing you what I'm doing to try to get my creative works out there, it will either inspire you to push your works, because I mean, come on, if this hat can make something happen, surely you guys can make something happen. And hey, let's be honest, shameless product placement and promotion. I mean, duh. But please still stick with me. Stick with me. I'll make it worth your while. It will be entertaining. Are you not entertained? Until then, happy Thanksgiving and see you in
2 weeks. 2 weeks.